Let's talk.
Come on.
I am with the man, the legend, Anthony Ruggiano Jr. And me, well, we don't need to say who I am. So thanks for coming on right now. We're gonna go right into it. Why are you such a greedy? No. I was listening to. Well, I'm kind of addicted to his podcast. Your podcast, Reformed Gangsters.
Yes, Reformed Gangsters. Yep.
You can go to reformedgangsters.com. I actually was gonna do stand-up for one of his events a month or two ago, and I didn't even prepare for my own stand-up because I was listening to his interview with Rita Gigante for the second time instead of preparing. So from these interviews, one of the things he said was, if I made $5,000, I spent $7,000. Why were you so greedy?
It wasn't, I don't think it was really greed. It was like the money was coming in so fast back then. So the faster it came in, the faster you spent it. Because when you're in the street, well, for me anyway, when you're in the street and you're making money like that, like I'm making $10,000, $15,000 a week, and you think it's never going to end.
Really?
So I'm getting 5, I'm spending 7, I'm getting 10, I'm spending 12. You think it's never going to end, so you just keeps going and going and going. And you know, you're empty inside, so you know, it's like just filling up some kind of void.
You really felt like this would continue on for a lot longer than it did?
Yeah, when I was
optimist.
When I was in the mix, like when I was in the middle of it, you think it's never going to end. Because it was like that my whole life until it ended, basically.
Your whole life?
Well, my whole adult life, since I was a kid. My father always was a big spender also, so he sort of like passed that on to me. And and when you're in that life and you're moving around that fast and you're making that kind of money, you think it's never going to end.
I had a psychic tell me that when I'm 40, 2 years from now, I'll be super rich and worldly famous, according to many, but I would still be penurious and I would still save money, which is the one thing that, well, of many, that makes me think maybe it's true, because I don't see myself having 2 cars, because what am I going to do? Have one leg in one and one in the other? I feel like I'm always going to be hoarding money as if I was going to lose it. All right, anyway.
All right.
What scares you now versus what scared you then? What's the difference between your fears? What triggers your fears?
Well, back then, I wasn't really scared of anything. I mean, I was mindful of things, like I never was really scared. And now what scares me today, old age.
Yeah? Getting older, getting sick?
What scares me today is I wasted a lot of years of my life, you know, drug addiction and prison, and it scares me that that I can't make up for that time. You know, that's what scares me. Like I wasted a lot of time and it shortened my life. That's what scares me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I feel like I've had at least a decade taken off my life from back problems that I had and health issues. And now at 38, you know, I keep getting cast as a 24 to 28-year-old. I'm just like, I'm trying to string out. Yeah, I'm trying to string out my youth because I feel like I lost all this time. So what things do you feel like, are you rushing to make up for any time in certain areas? Or certain things you're like, okay, I got to get it done now?
I think see, there's a saying in recovery called that the wreckage of my past. So, you know, like so now it's like, I'm concerned about my health. So I try to stay as healthy as I can, because that's a concern of mine, that I abused my body all those years with the drugs and with the prison and everything. So, you know, now I like to try to eat healthy, and when I slack off, it concerns me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I neglect going to the gym, or when I neglect eating healthy, that stuff like that concerns me now. My health concerns me because of all the abuse I put myself through.
You see, if you were a cat like me, you'd have multiple lives, and it wouldn't matter. You could trash your life over and over. So maybe you are living like you thought you were a cat for a lot of your younger years.
Could very well be.
And then newsflash, you're not a cat.
Well, you know, I did have more than one life.
Yeah.
Right. So
well,
a
at
cat
least
has
2, right? At least 2 that you've talked
3,
about.
maybe 3. You know, I overcame a lot. So I guess that's, you could say, by overcoming sections of my life is a new life starting, right? When you overcome something and you start something new.
Yeah, I got new phases. Like, I had one friend say that every 2 months I feel like you have this big epiphany, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that was in college at least. But all right, so for me, I tried to change my name to Steven Seagal on Facebook multiple times. I'm someone that I like to see people get what they deserve, for better or worse. Now, I don't seek revenge because I do believe in karma. The few times I have done bad things consciously, really bad things happened to me. Both times I gained weight, lost opportunities, and tires just popped on my car, and it felt like God was pissing on me. So I don't really like to cross the line, but sometimes I see people and I'm like, they just shouldn't be here. They should just be wiped off the earth. And perhaps you've had this feeling as well. So now my question to you is, back in the day, you could act on some of these urges if you got the sanctions are okayed from the bosses. There's a lot of bosses. As a cat, I don't really have any bosses. I could just go and whoever I want. But perhaps there were some people you wanted to take down, but you couldn't. So how would you handle those emotions or feelings if you couldn't get the okay?
Take a lot of deep breaths. Well, you see, let's talk about, back in the day, all the violence was mob related. So, if we did hurt somebody, they knew the rules, they knew the score, they broke the rules, they got hurt. Today, it's like, I had an incident a couple of years ago. This guy took me in the kitchen of a place, and he said something to me, and I felt that feeling, and I just looked at him like he didn't know me. He doesn't even know my name. He thought my name was something else than Anthony. And I just looked at him and I told him, just do yourself a favor and just walk away from me right now.
Right.
Because I'm going to hurt you.
Right.
And and I guess the way I said it, he realized it, and he walked away.
Right.
But what I do now is, I just get violent in my mind.
Right. Me too.
And I just tell them, you're just lucky. You don't know how lucky you are. And it's funny that you said this is what's happening now. But so now that I have these videos out in my podcast, so a lot of people where I live now know who I really am.
Right.
And they didn't know who I really was before this. So I work in treatment and I deal with kids. And a lot of kids break my balls, breaking my balls, like cursing at me, like calling me names. Because they're detoxing. And I would just look at them and go, you should, I'm getting messages now on Facebook and my Instagram from old clients of mine. Oh my God, I didn't know. If I only knew, I would have never called you those names.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I'm getting those messages all the time.
That's funny.
So I just let it go now.
Let it go.
I just let it go because I don't want to be that person anymore.
Well, you asked about my boyfriend. That's one thing I said to him recently. I said, if you want to stay alive, we never live together. Because if you're another wing of the house, I'll still know where to find you. See you. And as you've seen with me, if you're watching, sometimes I need 24 hours to a week to cool down. So there's my answer. Just take a step away, right? All right. So things that you couldn't do then because you had the spotlight on you, and now you have the spotlight on you in different ways. What are some things you couldn't do then, and what are some things you can't do now?
What I couldn't do then was talk about my life to strangers.
Okay.
I couldn't go out and tell people, anything about my family, about my father, about me. When I first got clean and I started going to meetings, 12-step meetings, my father would tell me in the visiting room, don't be telling these people anything about us.
I would say the same thing.
Right, yeah. So I couldn't really be as open as I am now. And now what can't I talk about now?
Right.
There's really nothing I can't talk about. I'll talk about anything.
Has few topics because there are certain things you can get killed for or wiped off YouTube or the internet.
Well, I'm not going to talk politics.
Okay.
My politics.
That's fine.
This is my own belief. I don't believe. First of all, I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk about my life. When I go to a concert, I want to hear music. I don't want to hear the person's political views. If they're right or left, it doesn't matter to me. I don't want to know. And I
just want you to know if it's right, it's right, and if it's left, it's left. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But I won't talk about politics. People try to get me to talk about politics, and I won't talk bad about anybody. Like people, because in this genre now, there's a lot of bickering going on with other people, and I'm not gonna, and people try to get me sucked into it, and I'm not going there. So I won't do that. I won't talk about stuff. I won't talk about anybody, in a negative way, even if they deserve it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, they'll get their own karma.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it'll come to them.
Exactly.
I've seen it come to many people. So a few more questions.
Good.
Out of celebrities and known people, if you had to make a team of Crime Stoppers, what 3 people would you pick to stop crime now?
Stop
with
crime
you?
now. Actors.
Like you're like a neighborhood watch, or maybe you're like the police. Maybe you're real big. I don't know.
Definitely.
Anyone famous?
Definitely Robert De Niro.
Okay.
An actor. Definitely Robert De Niro. Who else?
2
Leo
more.
Rossi.
Okay.
My friend, my new friend.
Not because he's here.
My new friend Leo, and I don't know who else. You.
Oh, me? Okay, I'm pretty freaking organized. So actually, speaking of organized, there's 2 more questions.
Go ahead.
So there's supposedly over 500 guys working in this operation, and it was said, I think by you or Tommy Flash, that if this was a business, it would be in a Fortune 500 company. What things does running the mob coincide with running a company like Mercedes?
Well, I mean,
to be organized,
A crime family is very structured. It's very organized. It's all about making money, just like any corporation. Corporations are about making money. It's about supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We supply a service. Listen, the public keeps the mob in business.
Okay.
Just like it keeps a company in business, right? A Fortune 500 company, the public you have something to sell them, they buy it. The mob is the same thing. We service the public, we kick the money up. It's a structure, from associates to soldiers to captains to bosses. The money goes up the chain, and it's structured in the same way as a corporation. So and they make more money. I mean, the only thing is we can't show for our money. I mean, I know. Listen, I met people. When I was a kid on Mulberry Street, I would walk into a club and there'd be like a little old man playing cards at a table. He was worth millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
Look at, and I look at like this guy like Zuckerberg, they don't even know how to dress.
Or maybe they strategically don't know how to dress.
What's that?
Well, that leads me to my last comment question. One of the smartest things you can do is to play dumb, and I kind of live by act broke, play dumb.
Yeah.
That's backfired on me before because some people this year thought I was too dumb, and they tried to pull something over on me.
That's not good. My father always told me, don't ever let anybody know you're broke. If you are broke.
Okay.
And my father always lived like he was rich, even when he wasn't.
Interesting.
And as a matter of fact, he lived that way so good, he was so good at it, that after he passed away, people didn't believe that he died broke.
Wow. So what about the play dumb part? That's my final question.
Playing dumb?
Do you think there's points where you should play dumb?
Yeah, definitely. Especially I had situations, I was underestimated a lot of times in my life. Mm-hmm. People because I was a little quiet, and people definitely underestimated me. And it wasn't because I don't think I was playing dumb. I guess I was playing dumb, but I was playing just laid back and even when it came to fighting, sometimes I would work in after-hour clubs, and a couple of times I had to hit somebody and I would knock them out with one punch, and people go, they didn't think that was in me to do that. Oh my God, I can't believe that was in you, So I don't know if that's playing dumb or just being underestimated or.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to being underestimated.
Or playing dumb.
I've had both work for me. I'll tell you this, I got some very interesting information from Homeland Security cops when I lived right in front of or behind the way you look at Homeland Security, because they thought I was pretty dumb. And maybe we'll talk about that in a different conversation, but I was doing some activity that would be considered illegal right next to Homeland, and they told me a lot of information because, I look pretty dumb, I'll tell you that. Well, thank you very much for this interview. Interesting as always, and we can find you on reformgangsters.com.
Exactly, and also I'm involved in a foundation about Face the Music. It's a foundation for people that don't have insurance to get into treatment centers. They can find that on my website.
That's great.
And we scholarship people into treatment. And people have been contacting us now through my podcast and my website.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll keep pumping people full of drugs so we can give you some clients into treatment. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, man. Thank you.